Hello, my name's Claire and I'm here in the Whitfield area of Hunslet to find out what the local residents think about the proposed trolleybus scheme, which would put a trolleybus through this very quiet little area once every 3 minutes or once in each direction every 6 minutes. So before we go any further, I'll just ask Deborah here to pass me the camera and then I can ask her some questions about this. Thank you, Deborah. Right. Okay, this is Deborah who lives here, and she's going to tell me a little bit about what the route would be through these railings, which I believe are the perimeter of a small school, St Joseph's Primary School.
Yes, Claire, the trolleybus would come from the main road, as you can see the buses ahead.
Yes, there we go.
Directly
right in the distance.
through to where we're standing.
Right.
The gated area is obviously for the school.
Yes.
Directly over the side of the gates here is the car park for the staff.
Right.
So
right.
all that would have to be taken away.
Yes.
I have asked NGT what they thought about bringing the trolleybus so close to the primary school, and they have no problem with that. They were quite happy. They thought that was acceptable.
And I noticed that there's a kind of picnicking area here with tables. Is that belonging to the
yes, that's all their land.
Right, so obviously that's in the way, so that would have to be either moved further up or there would be new boundary fences required. There would be much reduced area for the school for parking, for general facilities, and they would have this 45-foot bendy bus going past, not to mention of course the overhead cables and poles.
Yes, all the girders have to be put in as well.
Yes.
So along the route for obviously the electric cable, so all that has to be accounted for along here. So all this area is going to be like ploughed through basically,
righto,
and reduced the grass area there for those.
Okay, well let's look at the other way where the route is proposed to go. Now we see here, this is there's two routes. There's Whitfield Square beyond, and this is Whitfield. Oh, this is Whitfield Gardens here. Yes.
It's quite complicated actually.
Yes.
Because it's like a small rabbit warren with the houses. There's only actually access to the houses on this road.
Right.
There's no other access.
So there's only local residents, visitors, deliveries.
Yes.
All that kind of stuff happening here. There's no through traffic.
No, and obviously the children walk this way with their parents
to get to the school. And they propose to put a 2-lane trolleybus route through here. So what would happen with the people? I mean, we see here people have parked their cars. They're obviously local residents, perhaps visitors.
Yes.
They've all got their cars parked. Doesn't seem to be a problem. There's quite a lot of space available for them.
Yes.
But presumably,
that's all got to go.
I mean, the road I'm looking at here is not wide enough for 2-lane trolleybus, is it?
No.
So there would
there'll be traffic orders on the road. I would think at this. It's definitely going to be at the other end of the precinct.
Right.
I would think they'll be on here as well.
Right. So, and they would need to widen, wouldn't they?
Yes. Yes, that's it.
So that some of this car parking space would be lost or narrowed. These gardens here would have the trolleybus going past very close.
Yes.
I imagine that the pavement might be narrowed, or there would have to be some kind of loss of the space that people appreciate here.
Yes, so just taking, for naturally, without having to think about it, it's going to be a totally different ballgame.
Yes, it would be, wouldn't it?
Totally change to their lives. Because obviously the trolleybus has to come up here, and there is the problem of no other vehicle access as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
They have to work around that as well, because it's not a through road for any other traffic.
Yes.
Which I don't believe they can enforce, because anybody will just use it as a shortcut.
Yes. Well, that was something you expressed quite a lot of concern about at the inquiry when you were asking Mr. Smith, the highways engineer, about when this road would be opened to the trolleybus, what would be stopping joyriders or people just cutting through, particularly in the hours after midnight and before 5 a.m. approximately, when the trolleybus wouldn't be running, so this would just be a free road for anybody to cut through.
Yes, but of course there'll be a sign on, and everybody will take notice to this.
Well, of course, this is what Mr. Smith says, but how do the residents feel about that?
Well,
they're not convinced.
No, that's not going to be enforced
Yes,
at all.
right.
You know, we know life, and it's not straightforward, unfortunately.
Yes.
And people will just take advantage, use a shortcut. If nobody, how will they? You know?
Well, that's right. Yes, and I see here these are the trees. Now, I think you told me these trees were planted 34 years ago, when this precinct was made into the present way that it is,
yes.
and that quite a few people live hereabouts, have actually been here for that whole time. They've seen the trees grow up.
Yeah. A lot of the residents have been here since the houses were built.
Yes.
It's a lovely little community.
Yes.
Quite a few older people.
Yes, I think the fact that you've got bollards at the end, so nothing larger than a motorcycle could get through onto this area here, so it must be quite safe for children to play on.
They just, run along without even have to think about anything.
Yeah.
There's no danger at all.
Yes, that's right.
And it's very safe for them.
And I notice also that there's what I believe is some kind of probably Grade 2 listed building or something.
Yes, it has an order on from the 70s. So nothing can be done, to the garden gate.
So this is the Garden Gate pub. I'll just come round here to get a better view of it. But of course, so that must be quite a local community focus.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful pub. Quite a lot of it is sort of original pictures.
Yes,
it's very famous for its tiles, actually.
Oh, yes.
It's been in a magazine quite recently.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Right.
It.
And so it's got its nice seating area in front of it.
Yes.
Which
that would have to go.
Would almost certainly have to go, wouldn't it?
Because you just couldn't have that.
You'd need to have a pavement in front of the pub.
That is where the pavement I would say would go.
Yes.
If you carry on in front of the job centre.
Yes.
I mean, they obviously have a safety rail there.
Yes.
I mean,
but even the safety rail, there we are, just zoom in on that. You see, even the safety rail in front of the job centre, if you had trolleybuses going within a couple of feet of that or so, 2 or 3 feet, a metre or something, it would be quite a it'd be quite a sense of immense things going past you. I mean,
yes.
If they're within only a few feet of you, even if there's a rail there, it kind of might feel a little bit overpowering.
Yeah, it's a bit frightening as well, isn't it?
Yes.
As well.
Yes. Yes.
But you can obviously see the area, and for the 2-lane trolleybus, and the design it's like a small bendy bus.
Yes. Well, I don't think a small bendy bus. I think it'd be a full-size bendy bus, wouldn't it? Not to mention the cables and poles.
Well,
so they'd need to have poles here as well, and of course the trees would have to come down.
Oh, exactly.
And
Everything.
even these planters, which presumably children play on these, and
everything has to go.
Yes.
Nothing, can stay in its way.
And these houses, I think I neglected to ask you about these houses, but of course, where on both sides there are only quite small gardens, but I'm sure they're valued and appreciated.
Of course they are.
And
a lot of people, spend a lot of time. You can see sort of how nicely they're done.
Yes. This person's put some nice broken slates down, and they've got a couple of rose bushes and things. Yes. So you would obviously need to have a proper full width pavement along these sides, wouldn't you?
Well, that's the thing. And how wide is it actually going to be?
Yes.
Because if you can imagine now looking 2 trolleybus widths, and at some point they are going to be on the precinct at the same time.
Of course.
You can't say it won't. With the
yeah, that's right.
Ideally, but no, it will not happen.
So you've got to have a gap between the 2 in the middle.
Yes.
You've got to have a pavement on either side, and then you've got to have the gardens.
Yes.
And you said that people have been offered walls.
Oh yes, beautiful walls to match all the lovely.
So you either have a waist-high wall that won't be a great deal more protection than the existing fences, or presumably a 2-metre high wall that would make you feel boxed in completely.
So you couldn't see the blessed thing.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
And a lot of people have chosen what they want.
Yes.
They've chosen the fence.
Yes, well, I can see there's somebody there who's built some quite nice fencing. It's got its own character. and people have got their little flowers and their rose bushes and things.
She doesn't want to lose her wall.
Yes.
But obviously they want it. This doesn't actually appeal to them in their plans.
No.
You know, it's too individual.
Right. So when did you first find out about what they proposed to do here?
Well, we actually got compulsory purchase orders on the house for about 3.5 years ago now. And
really?
That was the first time.
Compulsory purchase orders. So they wanted to actually knock down the houses.
They wanted to take the houses.
Yeah.
So obviously for the last 3.5 years, it's been devastating.
Yes.
Nobody's known what's going to happen. You know, children will go to schools here.
Yes.
They're going to have to move. It's been really, really terrible.
It must be
everybody's
frightening.
Mind. And it's like really depressing and upsetting, and it's the main topic of conversation.
I'll bet it is, yes.
So it was only last year that we actually found out that they didn't want to take the house.
Right.
So, but obviously the problem is now there just is not enough comfortable space to have that.
No.
2 tracks outside the house. It's just impossible.
And so how did they actually contact you more recently?
It seems to be with NGT, we only actually get any when they want something for us, then we actually receive a signed for letter.
Right.
That seems to be the only time we actually get anything.
Yes.
Apparently they have hand-delivered notes, which I have never received, neither has my neighbour.
Right.
And I think...
So it has to call it in question whether they really have been doing this.
And to think that they would come down with handwritten notes.
Yes.
Apparently maybe I threw it away with some leaflets, but I can't see that I would do that.
But wouldn't you think that if something as major as this was going to come a few yards away from your house, that they would maybe do a charm offensive and come round knocking on people's doors explaining things?
Yes, you would think, wouldn't you, that they would come and speak to the people.
Yes.
And the worries and the concerns.
Yes.
And absolutely nothing. The last display, when all the designs at the St Joseph's School about May last year. We only was aware of that because somebody had seen that something was going on.
Right.
Told a neighbour. We zoomed down there and had a look at it, but we didn't know anything about that at all. They do not actually give you any information. We're really kept in the dark, and everybody's the same. So to say, oh, maybe one person didn't get the information, you would say, oh, well, maybe, but for everybody not to
get it. Yes, it's kind of a bit suspicious, isn't it?
Well,
yes.
Coming out, Civic.
Yes, well, we can't make any firm allegations, of course, but we do have to kind of ask where these things went or where they came from or whatever. So I'm just thinking about how you felt about the way that you were replied to when you actually went to the inquiry a couple of weeks ago. The public inquiry, which of course I should say for our viewers, has been taking place for about the last month or so. We're on a short break at the moment. Where all the aspects of the proposed trolleybus scheme are being looked at in extreme detail. And so you spoke to one of the highways engineers who was responsible for putting his ruler and pencil through this area. You'll forgive me if it reminds me of the way the British Empire used to treat the Middle East in the 1920s. But anyway, that's just a side remark. But so how did you feel about Mr. Smith and when he said to you that this was a necessary thing to do?
Well, honestly, I really felt belittled when I went.
Yes.
I don't think he even could face me, and I really felt like he was ashamed. I would
really,
be ashamed.
really, yeah.
Because he knew that it wasn't, morally it ticks all the boxes not to do it.
Yes.
And he just basically told me all the professional jargon.
Yes.
Which, unless you've got a degree in that to understand it a little bit better, it was, it was difficult. Avoiding maybe some of the questions by just telling me everything would be okay.
Yes.
There'd be no worries. Nobody would use the road unless only the trolleybus.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And there'll be no issues with the traffic, which I've pointed out.
Yes.
About the access at the other end of the precinct.
Yes.
All these I've explained to him, but they just seem to think no, it's absolutely fine. There's going to be no problem.
So would you say he's actually has Mr. Smith or any of his associates said that they think this will actually be an improvement to the area.
Oh yes,
yeah.
and my house, the value of my house is going to go up as well, apparently.
Okay, right.
But yes, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to really, rejuvenate the area.
Right.
But we're quite happy with how it is. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I mean, I must say that I find it's very quiet here. And I know that the trolleybuses are not going to be in themselves noisy, but the point about it being very quiet here is there's very little movement as well. I mean, we can hear birds.
Oh yes, yeah.
We can hear birds.
It's beautiful, yes, the birds.
It's a very secluded space, isn't it? Wouldn't you say? So you've got your lovely heritage grade building, which is a community asset. You've got a nice space here with some mature trees, secluded space where people can just kind of
safely walk around. No worries at all, and just enjoy life. Whereas if this proposed trolleybus gets put in place, it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
It would be a major thoroughfare, wouldn't it?
It's going to be devastating.
Yeah, so how long have we been... I'll just look at the timer here. Okay, well, this interview so far has been going for about 16 minutes. Well, we would have had at least 5 trolleybuses going past by now.
Yes, that's it. We would be literally stood against the fence trying to keep out of the way, wouldn't we?
Yes, and what about, I believe there's been some concern about wheelchair access if there are any disabled wheelchair users.
Well, my neighbour next door but one has a motor scooter. Mm-hmm. I mean, to actually get it out of the gate is I would say going to be into the line of the trolleybus.
Right.
Just to turn
because
it around.
that needs 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
And a certain amount of turning space.
That's right. So it's going to be very difficult for her to come out. And further down, there's a lot of old people.
Right.
See quite a few motor scooters, people walking with sticks.
Yes.
They need the time. They can't be rushed.
Yes.
And apparently they're going to have the time to do that, but I can't see that the trolleybus are going to be very accommodating, to be honest.
Well, Deborah, I'm sure there's absolutely vast amount of information we could still discuss about this, but I know you have an appointment shortly, and I don't want to keep you longer. And also, I know, of course, that viewers are probably overwhelmed with the amount of detail and information. So I'd just like to wind up and say, is there anything that we haven't covered which you feel is really important that you would just like to add to this before we finish this video?
Well, we'd just like to sort of make people aware of what's going to happen, because it's always such a great big scheme that's going to be so beneficial for everybody. And actually, the truth about it is it's going to absolutely rip the heart out of our community.
Right, yes. Or if you'll forgive me, we talked about this earlier, perhaps you would say it would rip the heart out of your community, because obviously we're hoping that it won't and that it won't go ahead.
It. Ideally, it wouldn't go ahead at all.
Yes.
But, I mean, the worry is the old people won't leave the houses, because they'll just be so scared to go out in front of it, and they'll just be isolated.
That is really a dreadful outcome, isn't it?
It's really going to be a nightmare, and we're absolutely so upset about it. And I hope that maybe people look at this other aspect of it and see what's happening to us.
And also, what do you think about the existing bus services between here, say, and the city centre?
We have a fantastic bus service here. I mean, you yourself, Cllr, used that to come here.
That's right, yes. It's about 15 minutes, and I was only waiting for 3 minutes at the Corn Exchange.
Exactly, and there's a number of buses, and it's a perfectly good system. If I wouldn't use the trolleybus system when I have this in place.
Yes.
And also, if you go to the main road, you've got the Wakefield electric hybrid buses as well.
Okay.
So you could use those as well. There's absolutely no need. It's really basically going to service the
and of course, go on.
The park and ride.
Yes.
It's not going to benefit anybody else. It goes round anywhere. This is a prime example, away from the traffic and people, limited number of stops. It's not going to benefit Leeds at all.
So would you say that this community is being exploited and held over a barrel by NGT, who are just really trying to think that
we're not worth anything to them?
Yes, exactly, and that you'll be easily beaten?
Oh yes, well they've already told me if the trolleybus system goes ahead, this is how it's going to be. So just make the most of it. And that's not what we want. We don't want it here at all, and take that away from us. We don't want it just you know, and just don't destroy our lives, because even the vulgar looking out of the window at the terrible girders, the electric cables, it's just
and people looking in your windows every 3 minutes.
I know, you know, people look around when they're sat on the bus. They don't, you know, it's not their fault. They're going to look and see and have a nosy, and it's going to be like a goldfish bowl.
A goldfish bowl, yes.
So no.
Well, I do hope that we can stop this, and I hope this short video that we've made will help raise public awareness about this, and raise, well, I would say some outrage, because people say to me, oh, you're just one of those posh northern Leeds people who's worried about losing a few trees, but everywhere where it would go, something would be lost, whether it's trees in Headingley or your lovely secluded community that you value so much here.
The amount of, for the short distance it's going to cover, it's not going to benefit anybody. It's going to destroy practically everything on the route.
Yes, and I think this is
no need. This is no need for it.
Yes, and I think this is what people feel about it all the way along the route. It's been very damaging and immensely costly, but that's a subject which we don't even have time to get into today. So thank you very much for your time, Deborah.
Thank you, Claire.
And I look forward to getting this up on the internet and people watching this and finding out about this atrocious NGT scheme. Thanks a lot then, Deborah.
For the staff.
Right.
So all that would have to be taken away.
Yes.
I have asked NGT what they thought about bringing the trolleybus so close to the primary school, and they have no problem with that. They were quite happy. They thought that was acceptable.
And I noticed that there's a kind of picnicking area here with tables. Is that belonging to the
yes, that's all their land.
Right, so obviously that's in the way, so that would have to be either moved further up, or there would be new boundary fences required. There would be much reduced area for the school, for parking, for general facilities. Hello, my name's Claire, and I'm here in the Whitfield area of Hunslet to find out what the local residents think about the proposed trolleybus scheme, which would put a trolleybus through this very quiet little area once every 3 minutes, or once in each direction every 6 minutes. So before we go any further, I'll just ask Deborah here to pass me the camera, and then I can ask her some questions about this. Thank you, Deborah. Right. And they would have this 45-foot bendy bus going past, not to mention, of course, the overhead cables and poles.
Yes, all the girders have to be put in as well.
Yes.
So along the route, for obviously the electric cable. So all that has to be accounted for along here. So all this area is going to be like ploughed through basically.
Righto.
And reduced the grass area there for those.
Okay, well, let's look at the other way where the route is proposed to go. Now we see here, this is, there's two routes. There's Whitfield Square beyond, and this is Whitfield, this is Whitfield Gardens here. Yes?
It is, it's quite complicated actually.
Yes,
because it's like a small rabbit warren with the houses. There's only actually access to the houses on this road.
Right.
There's no other access.
So there's only local residents, visitors, deliveries. All that kind of stuff happening here. There's no through traffic.
No, and obviously the children walk this way with their parents
to get to the school. And they propose to put a 2-lane trolleybus route through here. So what would happen with the people? I mean, we see here. Okay, this is Deborah, who lives here, and she's going to tell me a little bit about what the route would be through these railings, which I believe are the perimeter of a small school, St Joseph's Primary School.
Yes, Claire, the trolleybus would come from the main road, as you can see the buses ahead.
Yes, there we go.
Directly
right in the distance.
through to where we're standing.
Right.
The gated area is obviously for the school.
Yes.
Directly other side of the gates here is the car park.